Okay, hello guys. Thanks for coming. I know that it's the last session of the last day, so people not really show up. Anyway, my name is Tiffany Siwarkorn. So this work is a joint work between me, Jason Polakis, and Angelos Kiromaitis, who is our advisor at Columbia University. So actually, Jason and I are meant to present this together, but due to his scheduling problems, so he cannot make it to Singapore, so I will be presenting this alone. Okay, let's begin the talk. So as you know that today, economic of cybercrime is rely on the large-scale automation. So capture is one of the ways that people use to prevent any kind of automated activity. For example, when you want to create an account, when you want to post a message online, you're likely to find one of the captcha. So there's nothing wrong with that, and we always see it. The most common type of text is the text captcha. So as you can see here, I think I have a problem with my event. Can you hear me loud and clear? Okay, sure. Good, okay, awesome. So there's nothing wrong with that, but we have been using this type of captcha for more than 10 years, okay, never changed. The problem with that is the text captcha is now obsoleted. So why is obsoleted? So a couple years before now, it's like there are a lot of work regarding to this type of captcha, like breaking this specific type of captcha. Some of them really good, break into like 90 to 99% accuracy at really good timing. So people know that we should get away from this thing. We should move on to the new type of captcha that we are still looking for. Another reason why we should move away is actually it's becoming user unfriendly. So because like the captcha guy know that if it make it too easy, the bot can do the task. So they make it harder, but by doing so, it's also harder for us. I'm sure that all of you guys facing the same situation where you enter the website and then see the captcha and then you can't answer it even if you are human. Okay, this become more ridiculous. We have to refresh more than 10 times to get the captcha that we can't answer. So Google realized all of the problem that I have mentioned before. So they're coming up with something called no captcha, Recaptcha. So right now it's the most popular service capture in the world, and it's launched in December 2014, which is like a years ago, something like that. So of course it's designed to overcome the problem that I have mentioned previously. So for those of you who don't really know how it looks like, so this is actually the widget of the new Recaptcha. Basically, you're just going to click, and then it's going to verify whether you're human or robot. Okay. So let's step a closer look on to see how it's worked in the backend. So you see here there are two parties here. The end user is the person who sits in the front of the computer and then try to solve the captcha. The second party is the Google server, google.com. So when this widget is loaded, when user click at the widget, okay, there is like a JavaScript running in this browser, and then it's going to gather your information, like browser information, user information, send back to Google. Then Google going to do a risk analysis system on the information that we send. And then it's then going to decide which captcha we're going to get. So if you're lucky enough, if Google thinks that you are human, or you're likely to be a human, you're going to get this checkbox, which basically you don't have to do any action. But unfortunately, if Google thinks that you're likely not to be a human, or you look suspicious to them, so you still have to answer some captcha. For example, here you got the text captcha. This is what we've seen before, okay, something no surprising. Another thing that Google also launched with the no captcha, Recaptcha, is this type of captcha, which is called image captcha. So basically, you're going to get like 9 images of something, and then you have to select subset of the 9 image. Okay. So before I move on, better to mention that if the user get either text or an image captcha, you have 55 seconds to finish the task. So this is mean that any attack have to be faster than this deadline. Okay. So from this picture, we know that the key of if you want to break the captcha is trying to get to know what the risk analysis engine do. Okay, so we ask ourselves, how can we really influence their risk analysis system? Can we trick them to make they think that we are a human, not a robot, but we are actually like doing some automation. So because we don't really, we don't have any inside information from Google at all, so we do a black box testing on that, and we found that by looking into it, okay, the widget is again created by the JavaScript, but it's not like a pure JavaScript. The JavaScript is heavily obfuscated, okay, and actually it's encrypted as well. So there are some leaked disassembly code online, so we run that and then be able to kind of like guess like JavaScript function that this JavaScript code call. So by seeing this JavaScript function, we kind of like guess like what kind of check does Google do, right? And from that, we're able to get like, first thing is like, we know that by looking at that, we know that, okay, Google definitely checks for the browser environment, okay, like whether you use, like what kind of browser you use and all kinds of that. Another thing that we also looking at is, because like these things are run on HTTP or HTTPS, so definitely Google gonna take advantage of cookies. Because when this widget is send a request to Google, you also attach your cookie, no matter if you logged in or not logged in. If you have google.com cookie, you also send it along. And this Google cookie.com is really useful because like cookie is well known to be used for user tracking, so it can indicate some user history. So Google definitely take advantage of that. Okay, so let's talk about the browser environment check first. So there are a lot of aspects that Google do for check, but you guys definitely can check out our white paper that we provided. Okay, but I'm gonna give like some example that it's like interesting so far because we're gonna run out of time if we talk about it like everything. So first, the user agent. Okay, so we found that if we like supply it with like really old version of like browser, or if you have some misconfiguration in your user agent, for example, if you use like Firefox, but you report that you use Chrome, for example, Google think that this looks suspicious to them, so you should answer some captcha. For this case, you get the text captcha. Another thing that Google really look into it is actually the JavaScript code. It checks your ability to render the canvas element. Okay, for those of you who are not really familiar with the canvas element, so basically, it's gonna check. So the JavaScript gonna render like kind of like an image, okay? This image is like rendered from Canvas, which is like a library in JavaScript. So the good thing about this is we already know that to be able to get this image, we can fingerprint the browser from that. So if you render this image from Firefox, it's gonna be different from if you render from Chrome, for example. We have known this technique since 2012. And probably this is so if you go back to the first bullet point, how do Google know that we have misconfiguration? This is one of the ways to identify, okay? Now we also check for the mouse movement, if it is like relevant to, the no captcha that we get or not. So we supply Google with like really weird, like really irregular mouse movement pattern, and even there is no pattern at all. We didn't find that this thing is really matter, okay? So now moving into more important thing, which is like the google.com cookies. So after we check, we know that the ability to get no captcha is mainly rely on to have like google.com cookie. If your browser doesn't have google.com cookie, you won't be able to get no captcha at all. So now we ask ourselves again, can we create a google.com cookie that is good enough for us to pass no captcha? So if we have it, we don't have to answer any captcha, so it's cheap. So of course, we try to fetch the fresh cookie from google.com, and then because of this thing, it's related to activity, so we try to create some browsing history on top of this cookie. And then, of course, finally, we set this cookie in a fresh browser again and check when we're going to get no captcha, or if we're able to get no captcha or not. So actually, it's so surprised because like from what we test, so regardless of like the network where we created cookies, nor the browsing history, or like even if you don't have Google account, we still be able to pass the captcha within 9 days. So this is so surprising because like this has been that you can go to google.com, fetch one cookie, sit for 9 days, and then reuse it to get no captcha. This is fine, but again, the attack today is mainly rely on scalability. So we want to test how well can we do with that. So we have another test, and we found that we can get 8 no capture per day if we have just one cookie. Okay. Now we ask ourselves again if how many cookies we can get in a day, and actually we do some smart tests here, and we're able to get 63,000 cookies, okay, from one single machine. Surprisingly, there's no block with that. So 63 is not that much if you know, like if you do this stuff. But so far we haven't found any bugs, any block, any safeguard, okay, from Google. Now we want to see if there are any, so we have like ton of cookies. Now we want to use it, and we want to see like if we have any limit on getting no capture or not. So actually, before I begin, let me explain this graph a little bit. So a graph here is actually where we try to get no capture in period of 24 hours, okay, in one day. And each dot in here represents the number of no capture that we get in 1 minute. Okay, so as you can see here, this is around like 55 no capture for 1 minute. Okay, here's like about 20. So there are some dropout period here, and there's like a dot in the line 0. So this is meant that you get something else that is not no capture. For example, you get text or you get an image capture where you have to do something. Okay. So as you can see, we have some dropout period. If we raise the requested rate to be really high, like about like 55 capture per second, we have some dropout here that we get the other type of capture. So even if being said so, I mean, we able to get like, I mean, if we maintain like an optimal level, like the blue line here or the black line here, we're able to get like about like 55,000, okay, no capture from one single IP. Okay, this is actually crazy, and when we got this result, we retested a lot of time because we don't really believe it as well. But surprisingly, it is what it is, and now we ask ourselves again, because like this could be a flaw from Google, like they probably didn't like think about it that much, so they can fix it definitely. So how can we fix this thing? I mean, if this thing is fixed, what about if we get like an image capture or text capture? Can we do something with it? So for text capture, we already know that it's broken. Okay, so let's break the image capture. Okay, so it turns out that breaking image capture these days is not that like difficult anymore, because like we have really great advancement in deep learning, and also there are a lot of services and a lot of libraries do it for you. Okay, you can just like supply them with an image, and then it's going to return a keyword or a tag that describing the contents or virtual characteristics. So for example here. So this is actually an image where we get from the Google Recaptcha. Okay, the table here is represent the library that we use so far. Okay, so here GRIS stands for Google Reverse Image Search. Okay, which is like free service. You can use it online. Okay, Alchemy and Alkalify is an online service as well. It's actually well known in deep learning community. Okay, so this is kind of like free service, but if you use much, you have to pay something. Okay, for here, the Toronto Deep Learning, of course, is from Toronto, Canada. Okay, and NeuroTalk and Cafe is from Stanford. These three libraries is free. Okay, you can just download it, install on your machine, no cost. Okay, no training at all, because they also provide a model for you. So you can use something that off the shelf, no cost, no training. So and the thing is like, if you can see, I'm not sure that you're able to see it, they are really pretty good, actually. I mean, all of them is predicting like, I mean, like so correct. Like, I mean, everything here have like Y or red Y. So they are fantastic by itself. So that is great, and actually we can take advantage of that. So now we want to solve the image capture. So first, of course, when we get the image capture, first we want to extract the hint. So the hint is something, it's like a keyword, okay, that is telling us like what are we looking for in the candidate image, okay. So to extract the hint, some people might think it's really hard job because sometimes it needs like semantic analysis or something like that. But Actually, this is not the case because like the hint is always sit after the word select or and in front of the word below. So you can just use like regular expression to extract this word, not like super easy. Okay, so then you get the sample image, you get the candidate image, you put them into like annotated system that I have shown previously. Okay, and finally you compare the hint that you got, for example, here's Y, and the annotated tag output that I showed in the previous slide as well, and then try to select the right one. As simply as that. Okay. Now, before I move on, let me talk about the Google thing. So we know that Google has really amazing service. Okay, one of the amazing service is the Google Reverse Image Search. Actually, you probably heard of it. That I mean, you can just like upload an image, and then it's gonna look like this. It's return a result that look like this. So it's give a lot of information about it. Okay, so one of the things that it gives is like giving the keyword out. Okay, which is like clearly we can take advantage of that. The next thing is like they give like the page title of the website that contain this image. Okay, we also can take advantage of these like text that listed here. So that will be really helpful for our text as well. Another thing is like if this result is in other languages, we can even use Google Translate to translate it back to English, and then we can working from that. Next thing is we even get higher resolution images. So Google has something called virtual similar images, where it's like an image that look exactly the same like this one, but like I mean in a higher quality. For example, here the candidate image that we got, it's like super tiny. It's like 100 by 100 pixels. So if we use this one, we get a higher resolution. So when we put to annotate the system, it gets a higher quality. It get a higher accuracy in prediction. Now from now we have a pool of like image tags and hints. So we want to compare it. So how can we compare it smartly? So of course the naive way is to just like I don't care anything, just like do word matching. So if you found any word that exactly the same as the hint, you can just select that image. Okay. The next thing you can do is to do word similarity. So there are actually a lot of libraries doing it for you. So we use like the corpus-based approach, which is actually, well, something like, I mean, if you see pasta, you should select spaghetti too. Okay, this is like super human understandable so far. However, this is sometimes not good enough, okay, because we have some annotated service that return some odd relationship. For example, here, you have like, you always get like the word triangle, okay, and it's always be a cat image. Okay, we want to capture this relationship, but so far triangle and cat is not in the corpus that we use. So we want to make sure that we capture this, and so we know that there is like another library that doing machine learning. So it's gonna learn from the sentence that we supply and then mapping the word. Okay, so to use like word2vec is really well known. It's from 2012 and it's actually from Google as well. So word2vec also give ability to have like this function which is called like similarity score. So if we create this if we got the model, so we can use this function and supply it with hint and the tag that we got to get a score. So we're able to like, okay, measure the distance between which one is the correct one compared to like triangle or okay. I'll show you the example in the next slide. Okay. So yeah, now we want to build a tag classifier with word2vec. And first thing that we want to do is, of course, we gather the image that we got, and then we put them into any annotated service that we want to build tag classifier on top of it. Then, of course, we manually label it to make sure that this is the correct label that we're looking for. So then we supply it into the word2vec, which is the mode that we use here is the continue back of word. So better to mention that so the way we supply it is to make sure that for example, the correct tag here is close to annotated tag. For here, for example, cat must be closer to triangle compared to birthday. Okay, so this is ensure that the model that we got is going to imitate what we are looking for here. Now, the good thing about word2vec is it's going to remove all the common tag here. For example, X is in every group. So for this case, X gonna have equal distance to every word here, like cat or cake, okay? And it's also like, enhance the relationship where we actually want. Okay, so from that, after we train, we're able to get the similarity score function, and we finally increase our attack accuracy like by 5%, okay? So now let's do some attack evaluation. So if we do use an online service, for example, Clarify in this case, so we're able to get like 70% accuracy, okay? And we are really good at timing as well. We are about like 19 seconds per challenge, okay? We remember the 55 second, we actually never miss the deadline. It's far away from 55 seconds that we have. Now, if you really want to use something that offline, you can download it in store, no cost. We're able to break it in like about 40% accuracy with plus 1 second. Okay, so this is again actually I think it's good enough if you use automation, but so we asked ourselves how good it does, and the thing is, traditionally, if you read all the CAPTCHA paper so far, the CAPTCHA scheme is considered to be broken if there is like an algorithm an automated algorithm that can break this CAPTCHA more than 1%. Okay, because like any automate activity is really cheap. Okay, you can just do 100 times to pass just one, is absolutely fine. So now we want to compare our result with how good with a human. So there is like an online service that you can use, which is called Recaptcha.com. So basically it supports Google Recaptcha. And another reason why we select this is because if you read a lot of paper, this one is claimed, a lot of researchers claim this one to be the most accuracy compared to the other service. So Recaptcha is basically is like an underground market capture solver. So they have a human that sits in the other side of the world and then answer the captcha for you for a whole day. Okay, so right, this is underground, that is what people do for a while. So we want to compare our attack with them, and so surprisingly we got some error from them as well, either system overloaded or timeout. This is actually from them, okay? So system overloaded is where they don't have enough human to answer the captcha that we send. So they kind of okay, we can't do it right now, so supply it later. Timeout is where the human is probably gone to a restroom or something. So yeah, they didn't make it on time. Anyway, we ignored that error. We resupply that again, and then they're able to pass the challenge with about 44%. So as you can see here, and the average solving time for them is about 22.5 seconds. So if you compare it out with our results, so we see so far that if we use our online attack, we definitely way better. But if you use something offline, yeah, we able to in comparable accuracies about 40%, and we actually slightly faster, about 20 seconds. So now we take one more step. We want to see if our attack is work in another type of capture or not. For example, here Facebook capture. So this is actually an image from Facebook captcha. Well, some people never see it, but if you try to post a URL that is on the blacklist of Facebook or looks suspicious to them, you have to solve some captcha. Here, for example, you got image capture here. So one thing that to realize about this is, as you can see, the filler image here is different from different category. You have animal, you have some music instrument. Comparing to, Google Recaptcha, you always get one category, which is drink. Okay, so Google Recaptcha is a lot harder for this one. Somehow we're able to break this capture in 83% accuracy, which is really high. And I think they should change something definitely in the future. Okay, so finally we want to propose some countermeasure as well. At least it's not 100% anti-bot, but at least raise the bar up. So, risk analysis system is something new. Okay, we never know about it before, and well, this is the first time that we heard about it, and maybe we need to require an account to get no capture. But I'm not sure this can be implemented because no capture is intended to be used by anybody around the world, either they have Google account or not. Okay. Another thing is they can use they should really careful with the cookie reputation, not give it for free like 9 days. Doesn't make sense. And one more thing that they can do is, but for cookie it's tricky because the cookie policy is different across like country around the world. Like for Europe, they block cookie or something. So IP address or subnet safeguard is like you set a limit for something, and then like if you get no captcha and you cross the threshold, you should like start like by answer the captcha instead of like get no captcha. For image capture, we can do is like we can announce some advanced semantic relationships, like you prompt it with like tennis ball, and then you have like user to select something that it's more. You need another step for analyze that sentence or something like that. Okay, you can add a virtual noise, but again, if you add it too much, it's going to be back to the same problem where we have with the text capture. And this is interesting because like this is a new line of research, which is adversarial images. So basically, it's images that look exactly the same, but they use like this algorithm that modifies some of the pixel. Okay, even if it looks exactly the same, they modify some pixel. These images cannot be identified by deep learning. Okay, there are a lot of work going on. Like the recent one is like from Euro S&P 2016, so you can check it out. Of course, we disclose all of the things that we found to Google. So, right, where do we go now? So text capture is already broken. We know that. And semantic image capture is broken as well by us, okay? And it's still open a problem. Some people look into like the cognitive game capture. Some people find it's annoying, okay? Again, still like, there are a lot of user study and open problems. So if you guys come up with something, yeah, feel free to do. And we feel free to break as well. So anyway, I'd like to conclude with something that they require here, the black hat solve by. So again, this has happened in all security systems. If you have more complex system, there are always more ways to pass. Like for example, here we show the misuse of the web cookie, okay? Secondly, an automated cognition is not really, hard thing anymore. We have really great advancements on that. So image semantic is no longer obstacle. So, and finally, we want to conclude that maybe a capture concept is outdated. Maybe we should move to something else that is more creative. Okay. Anyway, future work. So thank you, and like to conclude this one, this funny image. All right. I'm happy to take a question if you have. Any question? Any? Nope. Not at all. All right. Anyway, if you want to take it offline, we'll be here until the end of the day. So thank you so much, and have a great trip back to where you came from. Thank you.